Episode 14, Talking Security with Andy Thompson.
Interested in Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is a very vague concept to a lot of people.
Need to know more about cryptocurrency?
We're going to talk about the basics. This is something that people just have no idea about what crypto is.
How about buying, selling, and mining?
Tony, I think that's one of the things that's going to make us a little different from some other shows.
We're getting our hands dirty.
Then listen to Gary Leland and Tony Sakala, better known as the Crypto Cousins, on the Crypto Cousins podcast.
Hey, welcome to the show. Gary Leland here.
And this is Tony Sakala.
This week's price.
This week's price in Bitcoin, $14,100.40. That's down $568.90 since last week, or 3.9%. Wow, Tony. This show is off the hook. We've got over 40,000 downloads per month coming up now. That may even break 50. I want to thank everybody for listening. We're kind of like totally caught off guard.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Well, we knew that crypto was important, and we knew that we just wanted to share what we were learning. And I guess we caught a wave of everyone else wants to learn. Everyone else wants to find out what's going on. And hearing it from folks like us who are in the space but not super experts, it was something that people really enjoyed.
Yeah, I think people like the fact that we're not talking like super technical that they don't understand. Because for a newbie, there's a lot of words you just don't even know.
Yeah. Just starting off with crypto.
Yeah. Every time I hear someone say, what is Bitcoin? They go, it's a cryptocurrency. Okay, well, that doesn't tell me much. What is cryptocurrency? Let me give everybody a tip here.
Yeah.
If someone asks you what Bitcoin is, do not say it's cryptocurrency, because they still go, okay, well, what is that? So you just answered something they don't know with something else they don't know. So let me give you a tip.
Now they're confused with two unknowns. Before they had one.
They have two things they need to know. They need to know what cryptocurrency is, and then they still need to know what Bitcoin is. So that is not your answer that you ever give. So, and also, as you know, this is our interview show. Every other show, Tuesdays, we do a chat where we chat about whatever subject we want. And then Thursdays, we do an interview show. Now, we have had ICOs contacting us, wanting to come on the show. So we're thinking that we're going to start having them on as interviews sometimes. And they can explain, if we think it looks like a legit company, we'll let them on the show and explain their technology. Tony, I think we have one set up already.
Yes, it's exciting.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But to let you know, that's going to be coming up soon. But this week, our interviews are kind of long, so we try to get right into them for you and not give you a lot of chit-chat. This week, we're interviewing Andy Thompson, and I'm kind of like almost embarrassed about this interview, Tony.
Why are you embarrassed, Gary?
Well, we did this interview actually before we did episode 1, just to get ready. And now, if you think about it, if you were a listener and you start with episode 1 because you don't know anything, that's where I was during this interview. So for a new listener, this is probably pretty good because I'm asking questions from the standing point where you're at. I knew nothing. But then again, though, now I know a lot, so I'm kind of embarrassed about how little I knew, I guess, at the time. So people are going to listen to this and go, gosh, that Gary knows nothing. But I want to make sure I put a disclaimer here. I know a lot more now than I did when I did this interview.
Exactly. This is Gary minus 6 weeks.
Yeah, so, but Andy is an old friend of mine. He's a strategic advisor for CyberArk Software. He's responsible for providing guidance in securing organizations with technologies and best practices. Andy spent the last 21 years in the fields of information security, systems administration, architecture, and web development. His full bio is on the show notes for the show. And Andy is an old friend of mine. He started working for me when he was in 10th grade, Tony.
Wow.
Yeah, so I can't believe he's been out working in security for 21 years. Gosh, that means, wow, I'm really old, Tony.
You're getting old.
I'm really old. Well, let's go to the interview, and you can see how little I knew back at this time.
And welcome to the show, Andy. Long time no see. We really appreciate you coming on.
Hey, Gary, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it, the invite and coming out to talk to you guys today.
Tony, Andy has been telling me for years I need to get into Bitcoin probably since way before it was $1,000, and I didn't listen. So it's funny. We're bringing all these people on the show who have been telling me for years to get into Bitcoin, Tony. Is that because we're trying to prove to everybody how stupid I was? I mean...
We all feel that way. We all feel like we could have gotten in a little sooner.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
You and Andy both got in way, way before me. Andy, we're here to talk security, though. And so let's get into the meat of it. I'm going to start out with one question I want to know right now, because I made a post on Facebook, and you came in and kind of corrected me, which was fine. I appreciate it, because I'm still learning, not like you guys. I'm not the expert yet. But I had made a post that I had bought a Treasure Hard wallet, and I'd put my Bitcoin in there, and you came in and corrected me and said I had just put my keys in there. Now let's get into that. So you never move your Bitcoin. You just are taking the keys to the doorway or something?
Exactly. What's being stored in your Trezor is just your private key. And so the Bitcoins themselves, they're not being transferred to and from your that device per se, or the wallet in which they reside. They're just meaning that you own that particular Bitcoin address. So that's really why it's so important that you have the only copy of that. And so you're not moving the Bitcoins around from wallet to wallet. It's just that private key that you're storing.
And so that key doesn't exist anywhere else.
No, it does not. And if it does, then that private key subsequently means that whoever has that may have your Bitcoin balance. So it's very important to keep that secret. And so that's why I'm kind of here today to discuss some best practices for cryptocurrency, as well as just cybersecurity best practices.
Well, let's get into it. Give us some best practices and some recommendations.
Okay, well, I've got a couple things that are relative to cryptocurrency, and one of which is exactly what you're doing is you're using a secure offline or cold wallet for your savings. So this is really the highest level of security for your savings. It's involving storing a wallet in a really secure place that's not connected to a network, meaning that nobody can go in and hack into it. So when it's done properly, it really gives good protection against computer vulnerabilities. And this offline wallet, in conjunction with using backups and encrypting your backups, is really the best thing you can do. So that's just one thing. The other thing that I really highly recommend you do is use an online wallet for your day-to-day purchases, but don't keep your entire balance in a third party's website. So you don't keep, thousands of dollars in your wallet when you go to the grocery store, do you? Well, the whole practice should be the same thing with cryptocurrency. So really my recommendation is in your day-to-day spending wallet, only carry enough currency that you wouldn't be completely destroyed if it was stolen. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're saying maybe keep like, I have on my phone a Jack's wallet. So maybe keep a few $100s in there, but keep the thousands of dollars in my treasure that's hidden somewhere in my house.
Exactly. You got it. That you nail on the head. Perfect. So that's exactly what you should be doing. So again, you don't want to be walking around with thousands of dollars in your normal wallet, right? So the same principles apply with cryptocurrency. Let's see. Another recommendation in that day-to-day wallet that you use online or with your phone app or something like that, use what's called two-factor authentication. That is really, really paramount, because if you've got a second factor in addition to a password, it can be something you know, something you have, something you are, like biometrics. That's the really true way, the best way to tie the identity to you logging on to that wallet. So hackers can't really do your fingerprint or your retina. So really use two-factor for your authentication to your regular day-to-day spending wallet.
And for those who don't know, that's when, for instance, when I go on Coinbase now, I put in my password, then it sends a number to my phone, texts me a number, and I have to enter that number. That's two-factor, right?
You're absolutely right. But
so only the person with the phone has that text.
That's correct. But I want to tell you guys something. This is kind of like crypto nerd talk here, but NIST has actually deprecated SMS communication for a two-factor authentication mechanism. In layman's terms, what that means is text messaging for that code is not as secure as something like LastPass two-factor or Google Authenticator, Duo, Radius, any type of multi-factor protocol, because people can steal your SIM card, or they can spoof a SIM card and they can receive your text. So it's very important that if you're going to put all your security into something like this, that you use a secure two-factor authentication mechanism. So,
and what are these secure two factors? Because I'm not familiar with these. So, I mean, you guys know all this stuff on top of your head. I know a lot of people are like me. Let's go over what these are again.
Right. So there's several different types, and all these are, I believe, either cheap or free. But what they do is they provide a key, a number sequence that changes every 30 seconds to a minute. RSA is one of the bigger vendors in the market. Duo as well. Duo, I highly recommend. It's a free service for standard users. I think you get like 10 credentials that you can store in there, but it sends a little push to your phone. So you just click yep, and then you're in. So that's a really good one. Google provides one called Google Authenticator that I also use, and I think that's great as well. So there's ways that you can do this for free, but it's better, in my opinion, than using text messaging as your two-factor authentication method. Another one is called YubiKey. I love YubiKey. I honestly, out of all the multi-factor types, I like the YubiKey the best.
Well, I'm not familiar with any of these. Tony,
you describe yes, definitely. I've heard of some of them. I just bought a YubiKey the other day, and it's fantastic. You want to explain, Andy, a little about what exactly is a YubiKey?
So a YubiKey is about a 1-inch rectangle that I put on my keychain, and it sticks into your USB drive. And every time you click this button, it acts like a keyboard and sends this really long string of characters. And it's a very unique string. And so once you authenticate that YubiKey with your your online wallet, then it will recognize only that particular YubiKey. So you have to have that physical device in order for the multi-factor to work.
What if you lose your YubiKey? What if someone steals your laptop and your YubiKey was in it?
Well, that's the one. You usually keep it on you, so you don't keep it in your computer. But they do have models that do that.
Well, you can lose your keys. People have lost their keys before.
Absolutely. So in that circumstance, you might be hosed. So what I do in that circumstance, is I keep a second YubiKey, and I keep it in a safe deposit box, just like where I keep my cold storage for my Bitcoin. So that's what I do, is I have a second factor, or a fail safe for when I potentially lose my second factor. Also, if you're using like Google Authenticator, when you're authenticating and syncing up your multi-factor device, it provides you a QR code. And so I recommend actually saving that image, printing it out, and also putting it in your cold storage safe deposit box if you have one.
That's two good tips. Now, hey, I want to ask you a question. I might be jumping around, but Tony, if you got any questions, jump in. I'm getting mine all answered.
Yes, you are getting. I'll let you go first, Gary.
Well, I want to know I don't understand this term, and I hear it all the time. And I know this is probably the most simplest thing of all, but I just don't know it. And anything, if you don't know, it's complicated. What is a paper wallet?
A paper wallet is simply a Bitcoin private key stored on a piece of paper. So it really, we've seen paper wallets. You can make your own, honestly. And I actually have a security recommendation for you as far as even making paper wallets. So again, I really like paper wallets because they're easy. They're much easier to simply hand to a person versus, transfer it through, technology. But there's still risk there. In the event that you try to make your own, most people try to do them online, and there's a potential risk that somebody could acquire that private key as the paper wallet's being made. So I typically recommend, there's a website called bitcoinpaperwallet.com, and you can actually run this program offline on a machine that's not even connected to the internet to make these private keys. So your paper wallets are absolutely safe. So another best practice from a paper wallet perspective is to understand that you're going to be holding on to this piece of paper for a very long time. So you want to keep it in a very safe place. I've said this several times now, but I think either a fireproof safe or a safety deposit box is very important. But also, additionally, you may want to think about getting some fade-resistant paper or fade-resistant ink. So, 10 years from now, when you come back and Bitcoin's at, $15,000, $20,000, hopefully, then, your private key and your paper wallet won't have faded off to non-existence. So keep in mind that we're going to be keeping this for the long haul. So you want to make sure that your paper wallets stick around for the long haul as well.
Well, two questions now about that. Now, if you're basically just writing down your key, the numbers, right?
Yes,
I mean,
that's
to
basically what a
simplify.
paper wallet is.
So
Yeah,
aren't your
absolutely.
keys still on the internet?
No, they're not.
Okay, how did they get off the internet onto your piece of paper?
The public, you can generate a private key completely disconnected from the internet.
Oh, okay. So is that what you need to do with the paper wallet? You need to generate a private key?
Yes, that's exactly what you're essentially doing. Your private key is ultimately your Bitcoin wallet. What you hold on to and what you don't share with anybody else is your private key. What you'll then provide to everybody else is the public key. Now, I could go again, all crypto nerd on you, but it's really a concept called asynchronous encryption. So that's what it is. One person has the public key, and that's what everybody sees as the public-facing Bitcoin address, but you keep to yourself that private key.
Well, I'm going to make a suggestion here. I know inks. As you know, I used to be an autograph hound back in the day, and I have thousands and thousands of items signed in ink, and some of them you can't even see the signature anymore. And I was reading an article one time in Autograph Magazine, and they recommended that whenever you get something signed, a book sign, you should always get it done in pencil, because graphite stays on there forever and never fades in a book. So that may be a good tip for a piece of paper that's folded up, stuck in a vault.
Absolutely. I completely agree, Gary.
Well, that's fascinating. The idea of keeping your wallet safe is just really very different than people have grown up trusting institutions to keep very important things safe, keep their money safe, their retirement accounts safe, and we just hand it all off to a big company and say, here you go. But now it looks as though, actual safes and places to lock up are important. Print out documents,
Absolutely.
and it's going to be something important now.
Well, Tony, back in the day, but in the times, that's a tough one. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know all the answers relative to wallet creation, specifically on the hardware side. I do understand it deals with the SHA-256 hashing of the algorithms, but the actual creation of the hardware wallets, I really don't have that technical knowledge. I'm sorry.
Well, that's cool. Basically, just maybe go through really what is the process when someone creates a physical wallet. I know Gary did. There's some words you're given, and what happens there?
Well, that's actually in the private key creation process, if I understand it correctly. And I very well may not. So if your listeners feel like correcting me and getting in and posting in the comments, please, I do encourage you to correct me. But what you're essentially doing is creating the private key. The process of putting those sequence and those numbers and those words is helping you create the private key. And it's also providing a mechanism, if I understand it correctly. I'll be honest, I really haven't made any Bitcoin wallets in quite some time. It's been years. Once I've had my wallets, I set them and forget them. I just wait for them to accrue. So if I remember the process correctly, when I was years ago when I made my first Bitcoin node, that you have a wallet and you create a new wallet and it creates the string of characters. I know I'm totally butchering this, but like I said, it's been years since I've done that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that gives you your private keys. Gary was explaining to me there's like a couple pieces of paper, cardboard that you write down some words. So how did it work when you set up your treasure?
It came with actually the treasure came with two pieces of paper that were lined with numbers 1 through 20, and when you set it up, it gave you 20 words. Word number 1 is kite. Word number 2 is television. Word number 3 is USB. Just words that made no random sense at all. And you write them down on both pieces of paper, and then we put one piece of paper and the wallet in the safety deposit box. and then I have one piece of paper hidden in my house, so that in case I need it without having to go up to the bank.
Okay, so it sounds to me as if that string of characters which you were provided is ideally, I think it is your private key. So the private key is stored on both those pieces of papers as a business continuity or disaster recovery. So in the event that your Trezor is just completely bombed and dead, then at least you have that to fall back on.
If my house caught on fire and my treasure was in here, I still could go to the safety deposit box and access my. I wouldn't lose my money.
Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. And so that sort of process goes completely out the window when you use like one of these online wallets, where that whole process is done behind the scenes and automatically, so you don't have to deal with that. But that comes with the risk of knowing that some other third party is in possession of that private key. We've seen with trading platforms such as Mt. Gox and others being compromised. You have to really retain ownership of your private key. Otherwise, you don't really actually own that Bitcoin. You're just giving it somebody else to temporarily hold. So you're doing the right thing, Gary, by absolutely holding tight to your private key.
Well, at least I'm doing something right.
You're doing a lot of things right, Gary. So what is it? The saying Andreas Antonopoulos is fond of saying: "Your keys, your Bitcoin, not your keys, not your Bitcoin."
Yeah, and that kind of goes on to some other best practices that I wanted to recommend. If you're doing any sort of trading on the platforms for like day trading or just even Coinbase or whatnot, my recommendation is don't use that as a wallet. Simply because platforms are really like honeypots for attackers. That's where the money's at. And so you don't want to be putting all your investment in something that's very attractive to an attacker. So again, only put enough money in there to facilitate your trades and nothing more.
I see. So don't keep my treasure of Bitcoins on Coinbase. Just 20 or 30 or 40 of them, but not all of them.
Only 20 or 30, 40 Bitcoins. Yes, absolutely.
Well, gosh, I guess I better pull off those other 100, huh?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I know I'm putting my tinfoil hat on here, but at the same time, if you're using any sort of online service to store Bitcoin, try not to use that machine or that machine very often, because there's certain things that are called like cross-site scripting attacks or malvertising. Those banner ads can often be an injection point for malicious software. And attackers know that Bitcoin is extremely valuable at this moment. So they're actually going and attacking after people's Bitcoin wallets. So be careful where you surf. I know that sounds common sense, but the thing is, though, is attackers are going after Bitcoin owners and they know where to look. So if you're going to be using like blockchain info or accessing and buying and selling cryptocurrency on GDAX or Coinbase or whatever else, try to do that away from the machine that you typically do your day-to-day web surfing on.
That's really great advice. So just get like a small laptop that really is not used for pretty much anything other than your financial.
Well, I would say I would use my wife's, but there's no telling what's on that computer with where she goes and all the emails she clicks on.
Well, and specifically for her too, this is another recommendation. I really think that ad blockers are very, very valuable from a cybersecurity perspective. Some of the ones that I recommend are AdBlock, uBlock, Origin, and another one called NoScript. And if you're super, super hyper paranoid like I am and very privacy focused, you can put your tinfoil hat on and go use Tor. It's a anonymizing service for the internet, and that really proves for true anonymity online. So those are the things I recommend if you really want to be safe online. And those are practices not just for cryptocurrency, but for just safe web browsing in general.
Those are really good tips. The browsing and the foolery, the tomfoolery that goes on out there is, really, it can fool even an advanced user. I mean, don't they have websites that look almost exactly like the regular website, but they use a funny character in the domain, and you really can't tell?
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's ways that attackers using concepts like ARP spoofing can actually take a legitimate website, like going to Google, and I can make a machine go to my Google instead. So you got to be careful. You have to really be hyper paranoid when it comes to cybersecurity. Another practice that I recommend, especially if you're using any sort of online cryptocurrency service, again, using any of the trading platforms, any currency purchasing services, you need to have a password that is strong. And it's not just a matter of having a long character with full password complexity. That's good. That really defeats brute force password cracking. But you need other components to it too. You need to make sure that password is unique. You can't use the same password on more than one website, because what happens when that other website gets compromised? We saw Bitcoin Talk was compromised years ago. I'm still getting spam emails from that. And it's a really good thing that I didn't have that same password as the same password to my email address. So that's one thing you want to make sure the passwords are complex and unique. Another thing is you got to keep changing your passwords. Just because you create a complex password that's unique doesn't mean that somebody can do a dump of the password hash off their database and brute force it. So you want to make sure that a password's long enough that it takes a long time to brute force, and then constantly change it. I try to change my passwords every few months. I know it's a painful process, but trust me.
Wow, I can imagine.
It really is. And there's good services out there. I think LastPass is really great for a lot of web services. It'll automatically do that for you, so you don't have to take the time. But again, I'm a super security nerd, and so I that's what I do. I change passwords all the time.
Wow. Yeah, I just got an email this week, 2 emails. Kickstarter was hacked in like 2014, and then they just let us know now. And of course, I was in the LinkedIn hack. I was in now all of us were in the Yahoo hack. That was 4 billion people. So you use that same password for any of those services. Forget about it.
Yeah, and just take it from a hacker. Don't use your kid's name. Don't use your dog's name. Don't use your birthday, your hometown, your mother's maiden name, your dad's middle name. Trust me, we know this sort of stuff, and it's easy to find that sort of stuff out online.
Can I use like the word password? Is that a good one?
Oh, well, you have to put the 4 for an A, and then you say no, absolutely not. It's called leet speak, and we, as penetration testers, hackers, script kiddies, they all understand that. And no, just because you can't use that kind of naming convention, we see right through it.
Well, these are all really great tips, Andrew.
Well, thank you. Again, these are just best practices that again really should be applied to regular just online use in addition to cryptocurrency.
Well, I think we covered a lot of ground with regard to Bitcoin. The most important thing, obviously, is safeguarding those private keys. And you have a Trezor. Andy, any other wallets that you recommend, or any other wallets that you recommend we stay away from? There are so many on apps on the Google Store, App Store that are out there. And what 300 Google apps were pulled recently from the Google Play for being full of some sort of malware.
Absolutely.
Maybe just touch on that. Because an app wallet seems really seductive. Hey, it's on my phone. 1, 2, 3. I'm on. And
isn't it convenient? It's fantastic, and I use it too. I think the online web app wallets are fantastic, but they do pose some semblance of risk. So I tell people about this, even relative to ransomware too. This same principle applies. We're talking about our finances here, our lifeblood. We really need to be careful, and so what I recommend is don't be bleeding edge. Don't be the first to adopt something. Let other people take the fall in the circumstance that it's malicious. So when you download an app, whether it's an online wallet or a ping pong game, it doesn't matter. Wait until a application has maybe 5 or 10,000 downloads. Make sure that it's got 4.5 to 5 stars. Read the reviews and make sure that you get some positive and some negative, because if you got to be careful. If they're all positive, I don't really quite trust that. It might be somebody paying a farm to give you positive ratings and reviews. So
that's a red flag. I see.
Yeah. If it's got all 100% like 5-star ratings, that's a red flag. If it's got one star and it's got a bunch of negative reviews, well, it's probably a bad app. But again, trusted sources. Relative to the iOS and the Apple walled garden of their app store, for the most part, they do vet their code. They vet it to some degree. There are some apps that do fall through the cracks, but for the most part, most of the apps in the iOS app store are safe. Android is a completely different jungle. You cannot trust the individual apps just because they're in the app store. You said it yourself, Tony. These apps are being taken down because they've got malware in them. So trust the developer. And by trusting them, I'm saying vet them. Read the reviews. Look at the ratings. Make sure that you have a large number of downloads before you even invest the time to get into that.
That's great.
Makes sense?
Andy. Fantastic.
Sounds like a good rule of thumb to me. Well, Andy, will you come back if we ever have a security issue we need some clarification on, or if another Mount Gox happens or something?
Just a quick piece of trivia. Do you guys know what Mount Gox actually stands for?
No. Ooh, I'd love to find out.
All right, so this is really funny. Mount Gox was originally built for Magic the Gathering. It was a website.
Oh, I saw it. I knew that.
Yeah, it's Magic the Gathering online exchange.
And when he built it, he just took his own website. He had his domain and just kept the one he was using.
Wow.
That's exactly right.
I did know that. I did know that. Actually, I wish I would have thought of it so I could have sounded a lot smarter.
Amazing. Fantastic, Andy. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Gary. I really appreciate you guys having me.
Hey, thanks for your time. Oh, before you go, Andy, gosh, I'm glad I thought of this. Where can people find you at, first of all? How can people find out more about you, or what's your website, or what are you pushing? Give us some scoop here.
All right. Well, you can find me online. Much like Mount Gox, I took my old website and I'm still held on to it. It has nothing to do with what I actually do anymore, but it's Meteor Music. Meteor, like the big rocks falling from the sky, and music.com. That's my website, my blog. I'm also on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. It's Rainmaker. Just search for it because it uses the leet speak that we were talking about. So that's how you can find me. And then also, I highly, highly recommend you check out the Dallas Crypto Party. This is a whole group of cryptocurrency and just cryptology enthusiasts in the Dallas Metroplex. So if you're in the area, we'd love to have you. Check us out on Meetup, and we would love to have you out there in person.
Well, thanks, Andy. We really appreciate it.
Y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's interview. And like I said, Tony, I was like out of it at this time, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, we all start somewhere.
Yeah, my knowledge was pretty lacking at this time. But yes, Tony, this was something people need to know about, is security. You hear about people getting their money stolen all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that and we, just recently there was that guy who bought a Ledger Nano on eBay. I'm sure you saw that. And it came with the words already printed out, the 20 words.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, okay. I think they made believe it was like a scratch off or something like that. Like they didn't see it. And here's your 20 words. And so he put his life savings. I think it was his life savings. I mean, it's a horrible story, into the Ledger Nano. And as soon as they saw, and they were watching the address, obviously, as soon as they saw the money go in, the criminals just used their access. They had full access to the wallet and just stole all the funds.
Yeah, so maybe you don't want to try to save $5 by buying a wallet from eBay or something. That's
on eBay, yeah. Well, and you just don't know. I mean, it may appear that you're buying it from the right person, but you could have a man-in-the-middle attack. Someone could pick it up in the mailroom or on your front porch and swap out the whole thing. So, got to be careful. You're not going to you don't want someone to tell you your 20 words. You want to make sure your 20 words, 12 to 24 words are revealed to you by the system, that you are writing them down in a private place. And you might not even want to read them out loud as you write them down because, according to John McAfee, your phone's listening to you all the time.
Hey, I got an interesting story. Last night, I got a Facebook message from someone I know saying, how do I recover my wallet if I threw my phone and went into water and it's broken?
Yeah.
And I said, well, you got your words there. And they said, oh, yeah, I did write those down.
Yeah.
So those words that they give you are pretty important. He dropped his phone in water took it apart, trying to dry it out, and then
sure.
broke it. So it wasn't of any value at all, which I guess maybe it wouldn't have been any value at all anyway. But he was able to recover his words with the words they give you, the token words. So make sure you write those down and never give them to anyone.
The words are your wallet.
The words are the wallet. Hey, I also want to make sure everybody knows about the super conference coming up in February. Tony and I will be there covering that for the Crypto Cousins. If you want to find out more about that, go to cryptocousins.com/super. And that's an affiliate link that'll give you 10% off. So make sure and check that out. We'd like to see if you're going to be there. Visit our Facebook.
It's going to be right there, at the airport.
Yeah, it's in Dallas-Fort Worth. It's going to be great.
Very convenient.
They get a lot of people there, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John McAfee, Charlie Shrem, some of the people we've interviewed are going to be there.
Yeah, pretty big names for sure. Make sure and go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review and a comment at cryptocousins.com/iTunes. Or if you're a Spotify user, go to cryptocousins.com/Spotify. And let's see, what else we want to end this up with. Don't forget to check out cryptocousins.com/donate if you want to help us out here. And we could always use your questions or comments at 747-777-9471. I really kind of wish we've had a ton of people get involved, Tony.
It's been really surprising. It's a fun community, a friendly community. People are really kind to each other in the groups, helping each other out. It's been really fun to watch and participate.
I like how people are like taking charge. Like we have someone who's taking care of our Reddit page, someone who's taking care of our Facebook page. People who are taking care of our Facebook group. We actually have a Crypto Cousins Facebook group out of Montana now, kind of like an affiliate group, for Montana. So people are liking the idea of what we're doing, I think, Tony, and they're wanting to expand it, which I love. I want to kind of make this show open source. Everybody is just, grow in the world of Crypto Cousins, because we're all cousins in crypto, aren't we, Tony?
We are all cousins, exactly.
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to find someone, if we have a listener who is an expert on taxes, I'd like to have someone on the show for that, to talk about taxes and crypto. I think it's that time of the year. People need to know the new tax laws that just happened, how they affect crypto. It could be a pretty good show. So if we got someone out there, contact me.
Mm-hmm. That's boring.
Yeah, I know it's boring, but I see a lot of people in the group asking about it, Tony.
They are. Well, I guess. I mean,
if they're all asking
some people are all worried about that. If they're gonna, what it's gonna be.
Yeah. Well,
all right. You know my feeling about that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they just don't want to get in trouble. And if people are wanting to know, maybe we should investigate it and make an episode out of it sooner or later.
Makes sense.
So I did want to say that, but that's really about all I have. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And like I said, sorry if I was such a newbie on that interview. The next interview we have, I'm going to be a newbie again too. So get ready. And then we're all caught up. I won't be a newbie anymore when I'm doing interviews. But we had 2 in the can that we're using now. So anything you want to add before we get out of here, Tony?
No, just practice safe crypto. Be careful with your money, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, you know what I want to also say before we go to Tony? I want to make sure everybody knows about our new website, turnkeymining.com. We made a website.
You're putting the finishing touches on it.
Yep, it's really nice. We're taking photos today to put on it. Tony, you got the shopping cart working yesterday, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're accepting PayPal. We'll be accepting crypto shortly.
And all that's on there is one item, our Ethan miner. And we're putting the questions that people send when they get them on there, so you can have a central location to look at questions. But if you're thinking about buying them, you can kind of see the answers to questions and stuff. And it's got the one product on there. But that's turnkeymining.com if you want to check that out. What is that? Mine with the Equihash? Is that what it is?
Out of the box, it mines Equihash, but you have opportunities to mine other GPU-based algorithms. You can mine ETH-hash, for Ethereum, or you can use some of the other algorithms that are mining. It comes loaded with Hive OS. Hive OS is an online web-based dashboard that lets you manage your miner. And so it's loading up all the programs, CC Miner and DSTM and EWBF. All these miners have weird names, but it's trying to keep up with all the latest versions of the miners so that when you are running it, you don't have to be concerned with, what am I running? All you do is fill in your wallet details and pick the mining algorithm you want. If you want to mine Zcash or Ethereum or some of the other coins, and then you just click start, and your miner's working away. You get a great dashboard. You get to watch it, and it's working really well.
Yeah, maybe we'll do next week's show on the mining machines.
Cool.
Yeah. So, So, okay. Well, we need to let everybody out of here. So, Tony.
All right, folks.
Enjoyed it, Tony. Enjoyed everybody listening. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Crypto Cousins podcast. Please share this podcast with anyone you know that is interested in cryptocurrency. Your friends can subscribe on iTunes at cryptocousins.com/iTunes and on Android at cryptocousins.com/play. If you want to know more about Tony or Gary, just go to tonysakala.com or garyleland.com. Make sure and join us on the next episode, and thanks for listening. The Crypto Cousins podcast and information in the podcast are not intended as investment advice. Cryptocurrencies are risky. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. Always seek professional advice before making any investment. Investing in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies may present tremendous risks. Please understand that you are using any and all information available on or through the Crypto Cousins podcast at your own risk.